Welcome to Labels Don't Define Us, the podcast where we share real stories of life beyond diagnosis. Here, we challenge the stigma, break down the labels, and celebrate the strength it takes to live with and thrive beyond mental health conditions. Each week, you'll hear inspiring conversations, practical tools, and honest voices that remind us all a diagnosis may be part of your story, but it does not define who you are. I'm Sarah, and I'm so glad you're here with me today. Let's begin today's episode. This episode is for the parents who love deeply but worry constantly. For the ones who show up every day, even when their energy is low and their minds are loud. For the parents who carry guilt, fear, and exhaustion, yet still read the bedtime story, pack the lunches, and hold their children close. Today, we're talking about parenting with a mental health diagnosis and the quiet, everyday strength it takes to do that with honesty, compassion, and resilience. If you're a parent living with anxiety, depression, ADHD, bipolar disorder, OCD, or trauma, this space is for you. The reality of parenting with mental illness. Parenting is demanding under any circumstances, but parenting while managing a mental health diagnosis adds layers that many people never see. Parents with diagnoses often carry chronic anxiety about doing enough, fear of passing struggles onto their children, guilt for needing rest, shame for having hard days, exhaustion from masking symptoms, pressure to appear strong at all times. Research shows that parents with mental health conditions often hold higher standards for themselves than parents without diagnoses and feel more guilt when they fall short. Anxiety can make every decision feel overwhelming. Depression can drain energy and motivation. ADHD can make routines feel chaotic. Bipolar disorder can create fear around mood shifts. And yet, these parents continue, not because it's easy, but because love shows up even on the hardest days. Let me share some stories that reflect the real courage of parenting with a diagnosis. The first story comes here, about the mother with bipolar disorder. Emma is a mother living with bipolar disorder. For years, she feared her diagnosis meant she wasn't fit to be a parent. She worried about mood changes and the unpredictability of energy levels. What helped Emma was routine. Simple, steady routines became her anchor. Morning checklists, quiet evenings, predictable mealtimes. She learned to plan for low-energy days and ask for help without shame. Today, Emma says her children are growing up emotionally aware, compassionate, and secure. She teaches them openly about feelings and that no emotion is bad. Her diagnosis didn't make her a weak parent. It made her an intentional one. Here comes the next story about the father with OCD. James is a dad living with OCD. For years, his intrusive thoughts made parenting terrifying. He feared accidents, illness, and mistakes, and tried to control everything to feel safe. Through therapy, James learned that letting go was not dangerous, it was necessary. He practiced resisting compulsions in small ways. He allowed uncertainty. He focused on presence instead of perfection. Today, James says his children don't need a flawless parent, they need a present one. And he finally believes that. Now I am going to tell you about Leela, the ADHD mom who got creative. Leela has ADHD and struggled with traditional parenting systems. Schedules felt rigid. Expectations felt overwhelming. Comparison with other parents felt crushing. So she created her own system. Color-coded calendars, visual charts, games instead of lectures, music instead of timers. Her house isn't perfectly organized, but it's full of laughter, creativity, and connection. Leela learned that flexibility is not failure. Turning struggle into expression. Many parents with diagnoses turn struggle into expression, and that expression becomes the gift to their children. Some journal with their kids, some paint together, some use music to regulate emotions, some model emotional honesty instead of emotional perfection. Children don't need parents who never struggle. They need parents who show how to cope. Parents who say, "I'm having a hard moment and I'll take care of myself." Parents who show that asking for help is strength. Parents who teach resilience through real life. Parenting with a diagnosis is not meant to be done alone. Here are support systems that truly make a difference. Therapy. Not because you're failing, but because parenting brings up deep emotions and past wounds. Therapy provides tools, grounding, and self-compassion. Co-parenting and communication. Clear communication about needs, limits, and energy levels reduces resentment and builds teamwork. Community. Support groups, online communities, or trusted friends remind parents they're not alone and that others understand without explanation. Flexible routines. Rigid systems can break under pressure. Flexible routines bend, and bending keeps families intact. Let me now share the story of Rachel, a single parent living with depression and anxiety. Rachel used to believe she had to hide her struggles from her child. She thought vulnerability would scare them. But over time, she learned something powerful. Honesty, when done gently, builds trust. Rachel began naming emotions aloud. "I'm feeling tired today, but we'll get through it together. I need a little quiet time, and then I'll be back." Her child learned emotional language early, learned empathy, learned patience. Today, Rachel says her home feels safer, not because it's perfect, but because it's honest. More facts and hope. Studies consistently show that children raised by parents with mental health diagnoses can thrive when the home environment includes emotional openness, consistent care, support systems, modeling of coping skills. A diagnosis does not predict parenting failure. Lack of support does. Healing parents raise resilient children, not because they're flawless, but because they're real. If you're parenting with a diagnosis, I want you to hear this. You are not broken. You are not failing. You are not less than. You are showing up, and that matters. Your children don't need a perfect version of you. They need the authentic one. Thank you for listening to the Labels Don't Define Us podcast. Your strength is real. Your love is powerful, and your story matters. Remember, your diagnosis is only one chapter, not your whole story. If today's episode gave you hope or insight, please follow the podcast and share it with someone who might need it too. Together, we can break the stigma and remind the world that we are so much more than labels. Until next time, take care of yourself and never forget, you are not defined by a diagnosis.